Hey YouTube, what's going on? We're back on the KZ750 Twin. Several things I want to do. For the moment, we're focusing on the brake light, tail light, which also have integrated turn signals. The brake light's not working. This is all LED. I'm not gonna try to fix that or what have you. I happen to have a spare unit, so I'm just gonna take out the old one and swap it in with the new one. But I'll show you how you test for that and how I figure it out. So let me set you up, get the tripod, and we'll go from there. Hang on. Before we start on the bike, one of my last videos I was talking about the manual. So how do I know what wires to check? It's magic. It's not magic. This is my manual, and in the back you got KZ750B4. That's this model wiring diagram. Now it says Canadian model. I don't know what that's all about, because this is an American bike, but the difference, there are no differences really as far as I can tell. There are, here's the European model. The main difference there, I don't know if you can pick all this up, but they usually, European bikes have this, they call it a city light or a running parking light or running light of some sort. We don't have that in America or in Canada. So here I come to the tail and brake light. Gosh, I hope you can see that. It's tiny. Up here is the rear brake switch. Now you won't be able to see, it's too small. But right there are two little letters, BL. And if I go to the legend here, Legend of Zelda, the BL stands for blue, right there. So I trace that blue wire, it connects right there, and then it goes into the tail light. So basically when the switch is engaged, that blue wire sends voltage or power to the light to let it light up. Okay, keep that in mind. Alright, so now we're at the bike. I'm gonna turn on the power. By the way, I love the Misfits. This is from a friend of mine. She sent that to me. Thank you, Dimitra. You totally rock. Yes! Okay, so I'm gonna turn the power on to get power to the rear tail light. You don't want to keep that on for too long without running the bike. On these particular bikes, it could burn out the coils because it's powering up the coils right away. So, power's on, you see the lights come on. Let me put you on the tripod. Alright, can you see? So I'm going to take, this is called a test light. If you're not familiar, 12 volt test light. It's got a little light in there, or that you take the clippy end. Usually you'll go to ground, and then the pointy end will go to power, but you could do the opposite as well. Doesn't really matter. But basically, if I clip this to ground here, which I prefer since I have access to it, if I touch the positive terminal on the battery, this should light up. Ooh, it makes that noise too. Ooh. Yours might not make the noise. Hang on, let me turn that noise off. Okay. Better without the noise? So, now anywhere we have 12 volts, this should light up. Let me zoom in so you can see the wires. Bear with me. Okay, see the wires there? Now everything to the right is the light. I'm looking for the wires coming off of the harness. So we said blue, here is blue, is the brake light. So I'm going to unplug that. I'm going to stick this test light in there. Can you see? No, you cannot. How's that? Let me back out a little. Bear with me. Bear. Okay, now when I hit the brake lights, the brake lever, that lights up. I'm hitting the front brake lever. On, off. On, off. The problem is when this is plugged in to this brake light, like so. See, the tail light is on. But now I'm going to go hit the brake light. Here, I'll back out so you can see me hitting the brake light. The brake lever, I should say. Oh, by the way, you can see my license plate. Everyone blacks that out. Just don't steal nothing from me. Okay, so that's on. I'm hitting the lever, nothing's happening. On, off, nothing. I'm hitting the rear brake light switch, nothing. So that's telling me the circuit in here that's set up for the brakes is not working. So we come back here. What I have to do is remove all this, take out that old tail light, and then the new one, but there's a catch. The new light, the male plug connectors, these are smaller than what attaches to the harness. These used to be as well. So I have to crimp on new connectors to the new light. So we're going to do that together. Alright, so hang on, let me get set up. I'll be right back. Alright, so here's the replacement light. It is brand new, but you know, I had bought it as I was building the bike, and the first day I tried fitting it to test fit it to see how I was going to make the bracket. I dropped it and I cracked it. I was pretty upset about it, so I bought another one. They're about 12 bucks. This works perfectly other than that, so I'm just going to use it for the time being. I'm wondering if this crack will introduce moisture in there. Thankfully I live somewhere that's pretty dry, but it can easily replace it again if I have to. I'd rather not, but I will if I have to. Anyway, alright, so if you look here, these are the connectors that are on here. They are male connectors, but they're a smaller diameter. These come in different sizes. So I ordered a bunch of terminals from a place I love using. These are like OEM style male terminals, and they come with a cover, keep moisture and stuff out of there, and you use this style of crimper. It folds over those tangs right there, and these tangs here grab the wire, the sheath of the wire, and this grabs the wire. It's just a really positive connection. Most of us are used to this type of stuff from when you get in the zone, if you know what I'm talking about. And I mean, these work. I've used these many times. But this is a much lower quality connector than this. That's a female, but you know, I'll use the males that I got. But yeah, these are okay in a pinch. I prefer not to use them if I don't have to. When I do use these, I usually pull this plastic off and then use shrink tubing in its place. So I'll crimp the wire. If I have the time and the ability, I'll then solder it, and then I'll shrink tube it. So first step is to cut all these off. So I'm gonna just snip them. If you can't see, let me know. All right. Is that good with you? All right. Now, next step, obviously, is to strip them. There are so many choices. Most of us are familiar with this. Different wire gauges there, and the crimp side is here, and that color, the blue there, blue. You've also got bigger ones, which are yellow. It's an eye. Yellow. That's for a bigger diameter wire compared to this smaller diameter wire. Can you see that? I hope so. If not, just take my word for it. And then you'll see red on here too. There are also smaller ones for smaller diameter wire. The numbers are right there: 18 to 22 gauge, 14 to 16 gauge, 10 to 12 gauge. The smaller the number, the thicker the wire, because that makes perfect sense. Here's another style of stripper. No, not the dollar bill kind. If you notice here, I know these are a little dirty. I've traveled across the world with my tools and haven't been able to take awesome care of them. There are numbers stamped in here. These are the gauge sizes. So let's say right now it's set up for 16. So when I close this, that little hole is for a 16 gauge wire. If I go to 24, which is a smaller wire, that hole got tiny. Can you see that? That little hole right there. Right? I got these. I really like these. You basically you stick the wire in here. It holds it down. See, those clamps go down, and then as you keep squeezing, it pulls it apart and pulls the wire off. Let's try one. So, see that? So that's the side that's going to strip. Ta-da! Aren't you amazed? So there is that. Then I've also got this one. I love this one from Blue Point, which is also snap-on. So you basically feed the wire in here and just squeeze the trigger. Sometimes it's gotten old, doesn't always seem to work great anymore. There's also here, there's a little index, and that's for how much wire you want to strip off. You can set that. Let's try one of those. Let's see if it works. I've built many a wiring harness for a bike with these. So that's simple. It's about as much wire as you want exposed. Alright, let's do the rest of these. I'll just keep using this one. And you twist them. Always clockwise. That's just the standard because I said so. Alright. How's everybody doing today, by the way? I hope you're having a great day. Thanks for hanging out with me in the garage. I wasn't really in the mood to do any work today, but here I am. Okay, they're all stripped. I gotta kind of set this up a little here. Give me a moment, I'll be right back. Alright, I'm set up. So here are the male connectors. I showed you the female connectors before, right? Same style of crimp. But here's why I really like these. Besides the build quality, they're really just well made. They'll last the life of the bike. The female end comes with this cover I showed you, and the male comes with this. So basically you slide this on the wire, and then you crimp the end on, and then when you go to connect these, this sits inside of there, and it basically gives you a weatherproof seal. So that'll help with corrosion, etc. over time. So one main reason I love these. Okay, so I'm gonna take my wiring harness, carefully, long end down, slide that on there. Then I found the easiest thing to do is you take this connector, you sit it in the square jaw, and I find if I squeeze it just a little bit like that, and then this thing ratchets, so that'll stay put now. I can feed my wire in, and what I want is, here, let me grab another one. Basically, let's say we were doing this one. You want these bigger tangs to grab the sheath and the smaller tangs to grab the wire. So it would sit like this. So that holds the sheath, those hold the wire. So you get conductivity and a secure connection. And you don't need to then solder these. Now these may be a little long for this application, but it's okay. Not the end of the world. Most important part, I'm looking inside there to make sure I don't want to feed it too far. All right. So I put it in the smaller jaws and I crimped it down just a little to get it started. I like doing that. And then I'm putting it, these are actually meant for the center jaw, like that. And, oops, sorry, I haven't used this in a while. And there's definitely a trick to it. You even want it to go in, like you want this to fit in a certain way. It could be that way, could be that way. I'm not sure. I don't remember. It's been a while. It's okay to not remember. I would think it's this way, because if you can look real closely, there's two sets of jaws in there, or teeth. The one closer to my hand hangs lower, which would make sense to grab this side, which is lower, right? Logic. All right. Oops. All right, here we go. Or not. Because I crimped it a little, it's hard to feed in there. But it will go. There we go. So now I just crimp it down till it pops open. And there we have it. So can you see how that folded over and like this and grabbed it? You like my pantomime? And then this did the same on the sheath. So that thing's on there. It ain't going anywhere. And then I slide this rubber part over so that hump goes over. It's a little tough, but once it gets in on there, that thing will stay put for another 40 years. Okay, you got that? So I'm going to do the rest. You don't have to watch all of that, and I'll come back when I'm done. Next step is to take this old light off so I could put the new light on. But to take that off, I have to actually remove this tail section. So I'm going to do that right now. Nothing fancy, just 4 bolts there and 1 in there. And then I pull the section out. So I'm going to do that and we'll bring it right back. Tail's off, super easy. And now there's a 10mm nut here and one on the other side. Got to take those off. Do that right now. Got a flat washer, a lock washer, and a nut on there. On this side, I could take the whole thing off, but there's really no need to. So this mounting bracket, it's a stock mounting bracket for the stock tail light, but I cut it and modified it and then welded a brace in the back here and made this plate and welded that to fit the shape of the light so that it tucks up under the tail section. But I wanted to retain the stock mounting position because this bike is being a V twin, it vibrates a lot. Not as much as you'd think, but enough that there can be issues. So the stock mount here has 3 places with rubber. So it's shock absorbing for all that vibration. So I wanted to maintain that. What I did do though, I didn't want to cut anything up that came original on this bike because this stuff is really hard to find, and as time goes on it just gets harder to find. So and everything on this bike, other than being a mess because the previous owner just screwed everything up, things were in decent shape as far as not broken or damaged. So I kept all of that, and we have a local salvage yard, which I hear is closing soon. That kind of sucks. But I went there and I got a beat up old mount that was in pretty bad shape, but for my purposes it was great because I could cut it up, weld it, and have it powder coated. Same thing with this rear fender. You can see here it ends here, but it used to hang down to there. I wanted to retain it partially for the sake of splash guard, and also I like just this little bit of chrome peeks out, which kind of ties into the chrome front fender. A lot of people ask me why don't I paint the front fender black, but I really want this bike to look as 70s as possible, so that's why. Alright, so that is unscrewed. I just have to pull all these apart. And you're like, wait a minute, Con, what are you doing? How are you going to remember where all the wires go? Oh, that. Well, my friends in YouTube land, here, let me raise you up a little bit. I'm trying to do like 5 things at once so you can kind of see what I'm up to. What did I do? If anyone had watched some of my previous videos, let me show you here. I went and I used my phone and I took a picture. Can you see that? That's my hand. Hi, my hand. That's my hand waving at my hand, and all the wires and the colors and what connects to what. You don't have to guess. You don't have to wonder. You don't have to remember. It's right there. All right, let's carry on. So, unplug. There we go. Lift that up. I'll zoom you back out a little. There you go. You happy now? And now this whole thing can pull out. So there you have it. This is a backing plate that came with the light. You noticed one before, on the other one I already took it off. I'm just going to reuse this one because it already has my license plate that you're not going to steal the number on it, right? While this is off, I just want to take a quick look at this piece. I did fabricate it. You know, you just want to make sure your work is solid and good. Nothing broke. Everything looks good. All right, I'll lock it. So now I'm going to take the light we just put the new ends on, feed it through here. Voila. Okay, somebody's trying to steal my license plate. I see you. Knock it off. Just kidding. Here we go. This is going to be the fun part. I may actually have to undo that to feed this through. Let's see. I'll give it a couple of tries. There's basically a small hole back here with a rubber grommet. For all you curious minds. See it? Sorry about the camera work. My camera guy sucks. That little grommet there. Let's see if I can make this work. I might not. You might, Travis. You might. It will not. All right. Let me unbolt that. I'll feed everything through. You don't need to see that. Do you? I figured while I had this off, I would just show you. So these are the 3 rubber mounting points that this mounts to. It's got threaded holes. This used to come down way down to here. Now I cut it so it still mount. I cut this plate out to match the silhouette of the light. Then I welded it on in 2 spots, and then there was too much flex, so I made this little brace here. Let's see if I can, there you go. And I welded that in there and there, so now it's nice and solid. Okay, so I'm going to feed the light through. The wires have to go through here, out here, through there. There used to be a grommet there, but that's long gone. But I put one there. Alright, so let me do that and I'll bring you back. I have the light reattached. You can see it right here. Okay, that's the new one. And these are the new male electrical connectors we crimped on. One last thing I like to do before I connect everything, electrical connections, dielectric grease, also called tune-up grease, also called silicone grease. I put this on all my electrical connections because it will help keep them from corroding. This stuff can corrode over time, especially if you're in a wetter environment. I'm not, but nonetheless it doesn't hurt, and it's just a habit I've gotten into. So when I took this bike apart, I actually had to replace the entire wiring harness. It was shot. It was just the guy before me just destroyed it. So as I replaced it, I took every single connection, cleaned it up, and then with some sandpaper, very fine, just to get any corrosion off of the terminals, so I have good connectivity. And then I coated everything with a very light coating of dielectric grease and put it together. I usually use something like a Q-tip like this. Just dab a little on the end and rub it on the surface. You don't have to go crazy with it, but it basically is just like a moisture barrier, what have you. Okay, I'm gonna do that. I'll reconnect everything and then let's see if it works. Alright kids, we're back. Sorry if it's a little dark. I turned one of the overhead lights off because now everything's back in place. Not the tail section, just in case this thing doesn't work. I don't want to have to take everything apart again. But the light is bolted on, the wires are hooked up. I'm now going to turn on the power and make sure the brake light comes on, make sure the running light comes on, and make sure the turn signals still work as well. Excusez-moi. That's French for excusez-moi. So let's check it out. Let me know. Let me know if it works. So I see the running light, front brake light, rear brake light, left turn signal, right turn signal. It works. You can't even see the crack, barely. God, I'm wondering if I should cover that with some silicone or something. Did I mention front brake light, rear brake light? Alright, so on that note, it looks like we're done with this project. I will say goodbye for the moment, but I may keep doing some other stuff. If I do, I'll let you know. But for now, adios. One more thing I wanted to mention. I'm not sure why that failed. I don't know if it was just a faulty unit or maybe that vibration I was talking about, even though it's got the rubber mounting, maybe that got to it. Really don't know. So let's see how well this thing lasts. And if it lasts, it lasts. If it's not, like I said, it's cheap enough to replace or maybe put something else in its place. But I really do like it, so I'd like to keep it. Alright folks, on that note, if you like what you're seeing, please subscribe and like and make some comments. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions. On that note, I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.